Welcome back to How to Play Cricket, the professional coaching guide. So today's video is going to be about the DRS, and this is because Virat Kohli made a comment recently about how confusing the DRS is. And on Sky Sports, Nasser Hussain tried to come up with some justification that the DRS isn't confusing. And I'm here to say that yes, it is confusing, and Nasser Hussain just didn't get the point. So I'm going to come up with one explanation which will explain everything. Nasser Hussain is correct in saying the ball does not hit the wicket. It's a projected path and the ball can be missing the wicket or hitting the wicket. So it comes up with the calculations to determine is the ball hitting the wicket. Now these calculations can have error, and everyone knows that. And the error is around 2%, which equates to, if you're playing the ball from the popping crease, from the popping crease to the wicket is about 2 centimeter error. So for today's demonstration, let's just say the error is 2 centimeters.
That looks very, very close on television.
Now if you have a look at this delivery from Syed Ajmal to Sachin Tendulkar, a very famous one, from the semi-final of a World Cup match, the umpire gives it out because he believes the ball is going to hit the wicket. Now if there is a judgment of error, now the DRS has been brought in to get rid of the howler. How is this a howler if the ball has missed the wicket by 1 millimeter? You're saying, well, the ball hasn't hit the wicket, so it can be given not out. So DRS has worked this time. Well, I'll tell you why it hasn't worked. There's a 2 centimeter error. So if the ball's missed the wicket by 0.1 millimeters, that means there's a chance it could have been hitting the wicket by 1.9 millimeters. In fact, what that shows is half a stump is about 2 centimeters. That ball could have potentially been hitting a half the leg stump. Now, if the DRS was brought in to eliminate the howler, how is this a howler? If the umpire is giving it out, there has to be a 2 centimeter gap between the edge of the wicket. Then you could say that's a howler, and DRS, even with the error it creates, that ball will be missing the wicket. Now once you understand that, the fundamental problem with DRS for me is not the case that there's a 2 centimeter gap. It's because it is to do with the ball clipping the top of the bells. Now I've seen way too often deliveries, DRS showing that it's just going spooning upwards into a straight motion like there's no gravity involved.
Pitched in line, hit him in line. It is going to go and hit the stumps. That's the key. Oh, it's bounced over it. I can't believe that. It looked plumb to me, but look at the bounce.
And the ball's missing the wicket by like 10 centimeters. You're thinking, how is this even possible? We can see from our own eye that that ball will not be going up in a trajectory. The technology doesn't seem to understand the idea of topspin creates downward force. Gravity is obviously going to come into effect. Now the ball is usually just clipping the wicket. Now if there's a 2 centimeter error gap, that ball would potentially be missing the wicket, or could be hitting the wicket. We don't know. So we have to sometimes take the umpire's call and actually leave it like that. The only time it should be overturned is if the ball is missing the wicket by over 2 centimeters. And remember, we're talking about from the popping crease. The further you come down the wicket, the error becomes larger. This is why the DRS doesn't come into effect when you're 3.5 meters down the wicket, because the error becomes too large. So this just shows that the idea of the ball clipping the top of the wicket is always a controversial one for me. What DRS should be about is they should have a 2 centimeter gap around the wicket, and that should be your margin for error. If the ball has gone past that, there is no chance that ball will be hitting the wicket. If the ball is in between that, there is a possibility, and that possibility must go back to the umpire's call. And of course, if the ball is still hitting the wicket, that doesn't always mean it is going to hit the wicket. So we must take the umpire's call into effect. If the umpire's given a not out and the ball seems to hit the wicket, with 2 centimeter error, that ball could be missing the wicket still. So just to bring it back to layman's terms, just trying to explain it one more time for all the people out there. If the ball is clipping the wicket by 1 millimeter and the ball is missing the wicket by 1 millimeter, that's just a 2 millimeter difference. This 2 millimeter should not determine if the ball is in or out, because the real error is the DRS technology has a 2% error gap. This is where Virat Kohli says the DRS is confusing.
Virat said if a ball's hitting the stumps, it is hitting the stumps, end of. But actually, Virat, that ball has never hit the stumps. That is a prediction. The ball has hit the pad. The technology, with its range of error in there, is predicting that it might well hit the stumps. It's to give the margin of error for the technology. If you didn't have that and you had umpire's call as out, right? So let's say the predictive element tells you it's hitting there, just clipping. All right, it could be just here, 2% margin of error. it could be just wide, a 2% margin of error. That means that immediately your stumps are higher and wider, and that is a massive target now for your pad.
So I will be sending this video to Nasser Hussain, and hopefully he'll see it and he'll try and respond to it, because at the end of the day, this is something which has been bugging me for quite a few years, and at last somebody in the international circle has mentioned it. But yeah, let me know what you think underneath in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because down here we do things professionally and we make sure what we talk about is covered by logic.
Yorker is hit into the gap, and that's 50. Incredible stuff, really is one hell of batting effort from him. He loves it, the fans are loving it, the dugout is incredibly happy because they're seeing a sensational 50 here.